Okay, the recording is on now.
Okay. All right. We want to welcome everyone to our board meeting. It's Thursday, June 18th, 5:30 p.m. We're meeting at the Professional Development and Technology Center in the boardroom. And we'll go ahead and begin with roll call, starting with Larry.
Larry Jepson, board member.
Randall Bagley, board member.
Steve Norton, superintendent.
Roger Pulsford, board member.
Kathy Christensen, board member.
Chris Corcoran, board member.
Jeff Nielsen, board member.
Where's Terry?
Terry, your mute might be on. I don't know.
I'm recording.
Okay.
Are you there, Terry?
I don't know why, but the camera on this computer doesn't open because it says it's being used somewhere else.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
Terry Rhodes, board member, is trying to get the roll call.
And Dale Hanson, business administrator.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and start with the pledge, and Larry will lead us in the pledge and then state our mission statement. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one nation under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our mission is to educate students for success in a changing world.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Dale, do we have any public input?
There's no one here. Haven't received any requesting any.
Okay, we'll move down to the consent agenda then, and I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion or questions? All right, we'll go ahead and vote then.
I'm just liking Terry. Yes. I wonder where she is.
I don't know.
I'll give her a call, see what's happening.
Okay.
She sent a little text to you in the chats. It says she's on the phone, and so her mic is off because she's speaking on the phone at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Nice catch, Gary.
So do we need to wait for her to vote down?
I can just put her as not present to vote and
Okay.
she'll pass. So all of the rest of the votes are in and unanimously in favor of the motion.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we'll move to our action agenda. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look over the 2020-21 school board meeting schedule. We have planned this as if there's going to be a regular school year and all is going to go well. So we have put on the August retreat for the 13th, if things work out okay. There was an adjustment in October because of fall break on the week that we normally have the meeting. The board Christmas party is on there. The January USBA conference is on, and the April NSBA conference is on. And then next year's retreat, which would move back to June if all is well. So anybody have any questions or concerns or anything? This whole thing is subject to change if we need to. So I will take a motion then to approve the 2020-21 school board meeting schedule.
I make a move that we,
Go ahead, Roger.
I make a motion to approve the school board calendar for 2021.
I second it.
Okay, questions or discussion? All righty, we'll go ahead and vote.
Okay, and Terry is with us. Thank you.
Okay,
Unanimously in favor of the motion.
okay, great. All right, we'll move down to our next action item, which is the request for the approval of the final legal budget. And I will take a motion to approve the final legal budget for the year 2019-2020.
I move that we approve the budget for 2019-2020, the final legal budget.
I second it.
Okay, any questions on this? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote.
Kathy, I'm just liking your vote there.
Oh,
There it goes. Okay. All right. All the votes are in unanimously in favor of the motion.
okay. All right, so now on this next one, Dale, how should we pass this? With approval of the proposed budget for the 2021, how should we state that?
Well, can I mention just a couple of things real quick?
Yeah,
So one is that some of the assessed valuation figures that we received from the county have changed since we last met. And so if you looked at that tab there that had the property tax information, you can see that there is some change in there. And so the tax rate on the second page there would show that it would be a tax rate of a 007,116. And that is based on using the basic levy at the estimated rate that we received back in April. So that rate won't be known probably for another 2 weeks. But whatever it is, it'll be at the certified rate, or if it's more or less than this last year's basic rate, we don't have to go through truth and taxation if it's greater than last year's. But it'll be set at whatever the state sets that rate at. That portion of it's called the basic levy. And but all of the others that we have for the voted leeway, the board leeway, the capital, the debt service, and the charter school levy are all fixed and solid numbers. So those wouldn't change from what's being proposed. They're all set at what they call then the certified tax rate. So it's considered to be revenue neutral. Basically, it's not a tax increase, and it's basically generating the same dollars as we had last year plus growth. And so we wouldn't have to worry about going through a truth and taxation hearing this year, setting the rate at certified tax rate. So in the motion there, I think I mentioned that it was to approve the 2021 preliminary budget and to set the property tax rate at the certified tax rate. And so that would be the reason for calling it that, is we don't know that last piece, but it's not going to change the fact that it is a certified tax rate levy.
okay. I will take a motion to approve the proposed budget for 2021 school year with, say it again, Dale, with what?
And set the property tax rate at the certified tax rate.
Okay, and set the property tax rate at the certified tax rate.
I move that we approve the proposed budget for 2020-21 with the tax rate set at the certified legal rate.
Wow, nice job.
Thanks.
I second it.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Dale about this or about, you know, how
Can I
that-
ask one just quick additional question? Obviously, the legislative session, the special session is going to change, you know, the parameters as well. Is it worth our adding an amendment to that motion that, you know, that we recognize this is a preliminary budget based on the state's budget, but that it will likely change?
We could, I mean, like we say, this is built on the base budget that the legislature approved at the very start of the legislative session. You know, the report we have right now is that what the legislature looking for public education is that we would actually have an increase in funding above the base rate.
That's what I heard on the
raising the
news
value of the
yesterday. Yeah, that's why I was asking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, so it is, I mean, it's inevitable. We'll have to adjust the tax or the budget. We have to adjust it anyway after the audit is complete to bring in the carryover figures from the prior year. And so that's, you know, it's inevitable there will be an increase. If we did want to mention that, you know, we recognize that this budget will be amended based on how the legislature adjusts the state budget. You know, that wouldn't hurt. That, I think it shows that we're understanding that and recognize this isn't the last and final budget by any means.
Okay, so how do we go about doing that now? Just have somebody add the amendment?
I would just propose an amendment that our decision is pending the final budget from the state that will be set after the special legislative session.
Okay, somebody second that?
I second it.
We actually haven't, I was going to say, we haven't actually voted on the motion. This could be just a continuation of your motion if you like, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I
Okay.
can't remember what order we do that. Amendment first or motion first?
Yeah, you're going beyond me too, so I don't know.
Who's the resident Roberts Rule expert?
Dale.
Amendment,
That's the sad reality.
the amendment.
Yeah, it would be the amendment first. I'll be honest to you, on board doc, I'm not sure how to run amendments on the regular vote.
Well, can we just do it verbally and then you can add
Yeah.
a post hoc?
Sure, not a problem.
Did somebody second that amendment?
I did.
I will.
Okay.
Roger did.
Okay.
Okay, so any other further questions on this before we vote? We're going too fast, Dale. Should we slow down here a minute for you?
No, we're doing fine.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and vote then.
I guess that would be a voice vote for the amendment, right?
Right, yeah, if I could get that.
I vote yes.
Okay. Yeah, so everyone would need a verbal vote on that.
Okay,
I
all
vote
in
yes.
favor? All in favor, say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no.
Okay. All right. Okay, then we could move ahead on the original motion
Okay,
now to this would be to approve the 2021 proposed budget and to set the tax rate at the certified tax rate.
okay.
So we'll take a vote on that. We'll open that up. Okay, all the votes are in and unanimously in favor of the motion.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. All right, we'll move down to our report, and we'll go to you again, Dale, on the monthly financial report.
We could just go through that quickly and just say, nope, that's the wrong one. Too many papers here. Here it is. So you all should have the report. And I'd just say quickly, it's basically a mirror image of the report last month. I don't think we've had any changes from what we experienced then. So our current budgets are solid for salaries and benefits, which make up 85% of the budget. There has been some savings realized by the COVID-19 soft closure. For example, our professional development day that we had scheduled for the 13th of March was one where we would be paying the daily salary rate to every teacher that attended there. And that's normally about $350,000 for that day. But we changed at the last minute and turned that day into a preparation day for teachers to prepare to teach online in the classroom. When we found out that we'd be closing down. And so that day can actually be purchased with these federal CARES funds that we have, or they call it the ESSER funds. And so there's right there alone, right there was $350,000 of savings that we had budgeted to pay out of our regular budget that will be now reimbursed through a federal grant. And but I'd just say all in all, the budget is solid in all aspects there. And we're in good shape to end the year in a positive situation.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Dale? Sorry. All right, we'll move on to our,
I do.
okay.
Not a question, and just in case somebody's listening, Dale, could you just clarify that salaries and benefits make up 85% of the general budget, not the total budget?
That's correct. Yeah. Of the general fund, yeah, about 85% is tied into salaries and benefits. But yeah, that doesn't include the debt service or the capital outlay or the.
Right. But if we say it's 85% of the total budget, then anyone listening who doesn't understand that will think that it's the total budget.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, we'll move down to our committee reports, and we're going to start off with Jeff. And you're up.
Okay. So in regards to the superintendent evaluation and the business administrator evaluation, we were all pretty unified in how we felt about things in the district, and generally speaking, the results were very favorable. I was very interested in the results of our board evaluation, and where it seems to be that we feel like some improvement could be made. There are a couple of questions that, for example, the board formally and regularly communicates to stakeholders the strategic plan, the desired culture, and improvement needs. And then board, let's see, the other one was the board uses data and reports in assessing progress, identifying areas needing improvement, and creating and refining the district's strategic plan. So there were two areas that I think we could probably set some goals around, and I would ask for your help in quantifying what those goals are and establishing maybe a metric that we can use to measure progress, and then wordsmithing them so that they, this is where I need Kathy's help figuring that out. But it's around how we create a strategic plan and what our plan is, how we are planning to get there, and then how we gather data from our stakeholders to create this plan, and then how we share with the stakeholders our metrics to show progress or, you know, the results of what we are doing. And then the last part that shows that we could use some improvement on is our advocacy with those entities, which could be the government entities that we work with, the mayors, those that are involved in a lot of the decisions that we make, that how we develop relationships with them and work with them to achieve the better good. So those are the two areas that I'm proposing that we ought to set some goals in based on our evaluation that would say that that would address the concerns that we have.
Okay. So those were the two areas that I thought looked like we needed to work on. Can Steve or Mike or Gary just give us some input on how we could go about maybe coming up with a goal for each of these areas? Because I'm not really sure how to do that.
I would suggest that you've got two board members, Jeff and Chris. Chris is working in an environment where this is just part of life, and Jeff works in an environment where a strategic plan. So I would suggest that if you wanted to turn those two loose and see if they could come up with some things that we could talk about at our retreat that would be good for that. And then we could put the education side to it when they come and have ideas that they would like to express and talk about. But I think you put all the expertise you need on the board to come up with at least some areas of focus that you would like to work on. Chris, hand up.
I like that idea, Superintendent. And I feel like, you know, my feeling is we want to be a resource to the district. So, you know, we want to make sure, you know, I think Jeff would feel the same way, and he can speak up himself, but I feel like, you know, we want to use our, you know, our contacts, our experience, you know, whatever we have available to us to try to build connections, you know, in the community, and help the district with any resources that might, you know, help you guys to achieve your goals with students. So I like that idea, and I think that we could kind of explore it in that context. Like what kinds of valuable connections do you think we could provide that would really help to bolster the district further in doing their outstanding work?
I would really like that expertise. There was a superintendent once that worked in the Lake Washington area that I knew very well from National Connection. And when she went to Boeing and asked for their help, they said, well, how much money do you want? And she said, I don't want any of your money. I want your expertise. I want your people to tell us how that we can become better, like Boeing has become better over the years. So that's kind of what I would be looking for, is some help from you guys' experience. I'm not a real strategic plan type of guy. I think most of you know that I've only had two goals since I've been here. And that's have kids reading on grade level and have kids have a positive experience with algebra. I think we've done a very, very good job of meeting those goals, but they're not a strategic plan. I understand that, but they've been very focused and laser-like goals that we've had. And so there are areas that we can expand and be better at. And I would just like to have some input from you who work in different worlds than we do, to see how we might be able to come up with some areas of focus.
Yeah, I'd be game for that. One thing I would ask though is if anybody has any input outside of what I gathered from the data from the evaluations, I'd be very interested to know. But those were the two underlying tones that were set by how everybody felt on their evaluation. So if there's something additional, please let me know, and we'll work on just establishing a potential goal and then a metric for that I can bring to present.
Does everybody feel good about that?
I have a suggestion, just a comment. As you, somebody mentioned mayors, and one way that we might connect with them is the mayors in the valley all get together once a month for a meeting together, usually with a dinner. So, and that includes their wives. So that would be a lot of key people that we could influence at once, as you consider, Chris and Jeff consider making goals toward that end. Anyway, that's a possible resource.
Good feedback.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Anybody else have any thoughts on either of these areas as to just kind of help Chris and Jeff have more ideas as they begin? Okay, then Jeff and Chris, do you feel like you could have something ready to go by the time we have our retreat in August to maybe add our goal list?
And that was just a suggestion. If we need longer time, that's fine. There's nothing that puts this on the fast track. Just as fast as you guys want to go.
I think it'll iterate a little bit. We'll have a proposal, we'll modify it, and I think it'll go through a few iterations before we get there, but I think it's definitely possible that we'll be through a few iterations by that point.
Okay, so let's plan on having that kind of the main focus of our retreat, that we get your input, your ideas, we share more of ours, we kind of work on it a little bit. Does everybody feel fine about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so on the agenda, I did have Carolyn put our 5 goals that we have. And so if you haven't already had a chance to refresh your memories as to what our goals were for this past year, look over these. And when we meet for our retreat, let's see which ones of these we can delete or retire, and how we can add some new ones that would refer to the issues that you've talked about, Jeff.
Yep.
Okay? Okay. Anything else,
No,
Jeff?
that's it.
Thanks so much. Appreciate all you've done on this. I think this is great that we've got the evaluations going, and that we are actually looking at the data to see where we feel like we have weak areas, and we can work on them to try and do a better job as we work on the school board together. Okay, so Chris, you were going to tell us a little bit about information you found out about a parent survey for the school starting in the fall.
Sure. You just as a refresher, this was based on that discussion in our last board meeting regarding those, 2 letters that were sent to, individuals in the district or on the board. The parents kind of weighing in with their opinions about how schools should be run in the fall. We had some discussion in the last meeting about how, largely the district's approach to school logistically will be, settled somewhat by what the state allows, what our public health officials and the state school board recommend. So there's not, a huge amount of leeway for districts in terms of what, how they'll be able to make decisions on their own. I think our concern that we discussed in the last meeting was, well, as you start getting responses from parents, how representative are those feelings that parents are expressing? And so I called Tim and I talked to him a little bit about this. We actually would like to conduct a parent survey. Both he and I, in talking about it, felt like maybe it was a little premature right now because the goalposts are still moving in terms of what fall is going to look like. And we want to be really careful when we survey parents because we don't want to give the impression that for some reason, district policy with regard to how schools are run in the fall is going to be kind of a democratic process. The people are weighing in with their feedback, and that's going to affect the decisions the school district makes. And so I think you and I talked about this today, Kathy. That's one thing Tim is really good at, is communicating with district patrons. What we want to do is in July, as the plan starts gelling, in terms of how school is going to look in the fall, and more details are filled in, we want to use that as an opportunity for education, about what that's going to look like, and also get parents' feedback with the understanding that their feedback is about something that, something that for which decisions have already been made, if that makes sense. So that on the one hand, we can make sure that parents are informed. On the other hand, we can gauge just how the public feels about how school will be run. Are we talking a very small minority of parents? Are we talking about a larger proportion of that the district would need to be concerned about? So the bottom line is, I think both Tim and I felt like a survey would be really valuable, and it would be valuable for us to do that further along in the summer, maybe about a month from now, as more concrete decisions are made.
So would you think that you'd need to have that information prior to the beginning of school, or by the time we have our retreat in August?
I think both.
Okay. So
to have some gauge by August would be nice. I think we just want a survey that's simple, that doesn't give parents the false impression that we're asking them for their varied opinions about how school should be run. For example, we just more want to know just how comfortable parents feel with the decisions that will need to be made based on public health expertise and state school board recommendations.
Okay, so Steve and Mike and Gary, what are your thoughts on this?
I think that's perfectly sound advice. I do know, and I have access to a couple of districts that have already done surveys. One, my daughter down in Waco sent me some results of some surveying that they did in a Waco district, Midland, Texas district, pretty good size, probably bigger than us. And then I've got one from down in Arizona from my other daughter who lives in the Chandler School District, which is just probably about 50,000 students, probably one of the bigger ones in Arizona. But I'll get those to Tim so that they can use that as a resource. But one thing I could mention is Chris sent me a copy of an article today. And that article pretty much, if you just read through it, pretty much summarizes all the issues and questions that we're faced with. And there's just a litany of them. And some of them can be answered today. Some can't be answered until school starts, and some won't be answered until a month from now. And so I fully agree with Tim and Chris that sometime later in July would be a good time to just let parents know that we're asking for some I don't know if we want to call it input, but we certainly want to know their feelings towards things that have been proposed in school districts across the world and across our nation and in Utah. And I think if we had that information, it would be very helpful for us to know what to do when we open our schools and have a good discussion in October at our retreat. But it's a moving target right now. I did want to ask Terry, and it doesn't look like she's right there right now, but I think the School Boards Association had a meeting today. And I know there's been some superintendent representatives and some school board members who are putting input into a committee on the state level, at the governor level, that are going to come out with guidelines on what they want us to do to open schools. So I know that input is going towards them, and they are very shortly going to turn around and give us some input back. So we'll have more guidelines probably by the second week of July, I would guess.
Okay, so right now we have one meeting scheduled in July. Do you think we ought to schedule an additional meeting with what's going on?
I would just wait and see if when we get ready, we probably will have a special meeting, but let's just keep it on hold for right now.
Okay. Gary, Mike, do you have anything you want to add?
I'll just chime in quick. I know that any time we can involve our patrons, just to let them, if nothing else, it's giving them better information from us. But I agree with what Chris is saying. It's got to be said in such a way that what they say isn't an expectation. That's the way things are going to be. So that's where the expertise is going to come in on the right kind of questions to be asked.
Okay, thank you.
And I also agree that we would be a little bit premature to send that out right now. I know the State Board of Education is supposed to give us some guidelines on the 23rd, and then there's a couple meetings, 24th and 25th, to give us some direction. And then we're to have a plan kind of put together and ready as a district to kind of show to the state. I was on the phone yesterday with Jenny Earl from the State Board of Education. She just reached out to a lot of different districts that she represents, and some questions kind of on where we're at and trying to get a feel for what those recommendations will be. So I'd like to wait and see what those come out with and what we put together as a plan.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do you have anything you want to comment on to help with this moving forward?
Can I ask Terry? Terry, was there a school board meeting today? A school board?
A state board meeting?
Yes, no?
A state board meeting?
Yeah. No, not state board. The governing board of the School Boards Association. Did they have a meeting today?
No, that was last week.
Okay.
Friday.
Okay.
And I sent my report on that meeting to everyone. Hopefully you all got it.
Okay. Somehow I got the idea that there was another meeting today that it came through Terry Shoemaker and indicated that we had a couple of superintendents and a couple of board members who were providing information to the governor's commission who was going to come out with recommendations. Do you know anything about that at all?
The statement that was formulated by the USBA Board of Directors, I attached a copy of that to my report after the meeting last Friday. And so each of you should have seen that statement. And yes, Terry Shoemaker and Lexi Cunningham, they're kind of piggybacking right now while Lexi learns the ropes. And so both of them and probably McKay Benson and either Amber Schill or Linda, just lost her last name anyway. One of those ladies was going to go with them and make a presentation present that statement from USBA to the legislators as they headed into the special session. And they had a copy for the state board also, and you should have received that from Terry or Richard. I can't remember who that came from.
Okay. I missed yours, so I'm going to have to go back and find it. So I apologize for that.
Okay. All right. Okay, just kind of as a help for me, Jeff and Chris, can you just shoot me an email kind of with what you just said about, first of all, the two areas that we need to work on, and Chris, what your suggestion is for the survey, so I can just have that as we plan the next agenda. Would you both be willing to do that?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
you bet.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anybody have any other input on any of this so far? Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate so much what you're doing. And I think that what you have done is really helpful and will help us as a board, and hopefully will also really help the district, help support the district as the new school year begins. Okay, let's move on to the board president report. And on the board president report, I kind of based this on the evaluation that we had, where it mentioned in the evaluation about our strategic plan. And we don't really have a strategic plan, although we have parts of a strategic plan. So I wasn't really sure what a strategic plan is. I asked Richard one time what it was, and he said it's a mission statement and a vision statement, and some of the priorities that you would like to accomplish in your district. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time just reading this to you, but I'll just tell you the first part, what is a strategic plan? That's just a definition that came from Wikipedia that I found. So look over that. And if you have ideas or comments when we get together for our retreat, we can go over this in a lot more detail. And then what should a strategic plan include? And we've got some of that already. We've got our mission statement. We've got our vision statement. Then we need to have priorities of what we would like to accomplish, expectations, and maybe there are other things. I do have a copy of the Utah State Board of Education strategic plan, and I'll make copies for you and get it to you. I don't know if you can see this, but they've just got it on one piece of paper on both sides. Have any of you seen this besides me? How they put together their strategic plan?
Okay.
Guess not?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm guessing some of you have. Okay, Terry has. Jeff, have you seen it?
It seems like I saw it somewhere, but I'll have to reference it again. I don't remember well enough.
Okay, so how about if I have a copy for everybody at the next meeting? Is that soon enough?
Yeah, that's great.
So you can just look at there. Okay, okay. And then on this list, possible priorities that we could make, and maybe after our discussion from Jeff and Chris, we might have some ideas what to put there. And then just some questions to consider and a place for you to add other questions. If you'll just make a copy of this, put your comments on it, and be prepared to work on this at the retreat, I would appreciate that very much. Anybody have any questions, comments, other things that I need to add to this, or information that will help us with this strategic?
Thanks for sending it.
Everybody good?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right, Superintendent, you are up.
Get my mic up. Thank you. Just a few items. First off, Kathy brought by a copy of the evaluation. I just want you to know I appreciate the feedback. I've been getting feedback for over 40 years from boards, and I've appreciated each and every one of those comments most of the time. And this was a very, very comprehensive, very nice evaluation, and I want you to know that I do appreciate it, and I know Dale does too. We appreciate the time and effort that went into it. We will continue to try and be the kind of employees that you would like us to be and provide the leadership that we can to this district for as long as you allow us to do that. So thank you for that. Well, here you sent me a copy of the Executive Appropriation Committee cut yesterday afternoon. He said he would do it as soon as it became public. I'm assuming that they will be adopted in the legislative session. He did tell me that there would be about a 2% increase on the WPU, to which I indicated I wasn't going to share it with anybody because I didn't believe it. But sure enough, today they indicated that there'd be a 1.8% increase on the WPU. I've asked Dale and our staff members, and I would ask you the same report. I would like to try and take that 1.8% increase on the WPU and see if we could turn that into a 2% raise for our teachers. Lyle said they came to that conclusion of adding that 1.8 increase by putting the growth into the base budget and then adding an inflationary part into the budget. Those are two things that they indicated they would do to the school budget if we supported the amendment change at the end of the year. And they have lived up to their responsibility, and I think it would behoove us to continue to work for a good relationship with them and see if at the end of the year in November, we're in a position that we could lend support to adding words to the Constitution that would allow income tax to be spent on disabilities and children. I think we can live with those changes. So I can see we didn't get cut in any areas that were really critical to our district. So that means TSSA was left alone, equalization was all left alone, board and voted leeway was all left alone, transportation was all left alone. Just to give you an idea, when the legislative committee finished, they had a $307 million cut. The executive appropriation only cut $49 million out of the education budget. So there was more revenue than they had anticipated, but they also could have put that in very many other places. And I just want them to know how much I appreciate what they've done in giving us as much increase as they possibly could. Start of school, we've already had a little discussion on that. I would encourage you to read that article that Chris sent, and I forwarded on to you. It in pretty much gives you thoughts from all over the country of what superintendents and principals are faced with right now. And we'll pull it off somehow, but we do need to realize that we're going on a leap of faith, bringing kids back together in August or September and hoping that we can not have an increase in this virus under the present conditions. And that brings me to number 5. Last Thursday, Tim Smith described it this way. He said he felt like somebody had just let the air out of his tires. And by Friday, he was well into COVID. And he has official results back now. And he and his wife both have it. His one son and daughter from somewhere along the Wasatch Front came home this weekend, and they have it. His son living at home off of Mission has it, but he has no symptoms except for a scratchy throat. Tim's been really sick. He indicated that this is a relentless virus and it has caused him a lot of concern. But he's on the mend, and so is his wife. But the official results that our health department said, there are at least 2 people we know in our district that during the time when he would have been highly contagious, Gary and Emily had enough contact with him that they're both been asked to go on a 14-day quarantine. So they are out of the office. There are a number of us who the day before or the day before that had quite a lot of contact with Tim. So I just reiterated to people that if they could do the job at home at this point, they probably ought to leave the office and go home. And we'll just see if it fits to anybody else. But it has given us some pause to reflect on how we're handling it in our office and what we're going to do when we have to handle it in a school setting. So we're trying to learn lessons as we go along, but we just hope nobody else gets it. That's why I didn't want to have a meeting with you folks, because I'm one of those people, Gary's one of those people, Dale's one of those people, and there are several others in the office that spent some time during a time when normally some people would say that Tim could have been contagious and maybe spreading. He went, as soon as he felt like he knew that something was wrong, he was out of there, and he did not ever come back after that Friday. And we appreciate his concern for the rest of us. We appreciate Gary, even though he didn't know for sure that Tim had it. He decided that the best way to work out his feelings was to get on his motorbike. So, he has a way of handling his stress. But anyway, we just want you to know that the good news is Tim and his wife are both going to fully recover, and so are his children. And we just hope that nobody else gets it. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Did you say that the TSA funds are not going to be affected?
Nope. They're going to remain whole.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Now, that's the recommendation from their leadership. I haven't got that confirmed. Might not be confirmed till tomorrow's when they end the meetings tomorrow. But that's the recommendation. They not touch.
So then all of the principals are going to have to do a TSSA plan before school starts. Is that correct?
Well, probably, but that won't hurt their feelings.
Okay.
They'd be happy to do a plan that had all their money in it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then we just have to approve their plan again, like we did last year.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And who will get that to us? Or don't
Well, let's wait and just make sure it's coming, but it'll come through the same channels. We'll get it to you. Mike and Gary. Gary might not be able to come to the office, but he will probably, for the most part, be able to continue to work unless he comes down with it.
We've actually given the new TSSA template. Mike went ahead and released that and gave it to all the principals. So they've been working on their TSSA plans in anticipation that the money would be coming through. So pretty much they're just waiting for the go-ahead that it's official.
Okay. So I just have one question, and maybe the board members will have some too on this, and maybe when we get the plan, we can ask more about it. But does it work the same way as the school lands trust plan, that it has to be geared towards an academic need?
No.
And that it cannot be?
Mike or Gary,
No.
do you want to hit it?
It can be used for other.
Yeah, I can. There's it's not as tight as the school land trust funds, but it is supposed to focus on academic improvement. And in our application that we have schools filled out, it does tell the schools what they can spend it on and what they cannot spend it on. And I could send you all a copy of that so you can see those guidelines.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
The top to go into general salaries. So there's a part of it that is used by the district, and then the rest of it goes to the schools.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any other questions or comments about any of our discussion tonight?
Barry does.
This is totally off topic. But I would really like our board to win the USBA drawing in July. But that means that all 9 of us have to finish open meeting law training on the Power Up website for the end of June.
Terry, I have tried 3 times to get onto that, and it can be me, I admit. But if I tried, and Megan has tried to help me, and I still cannot get it to come up on the open law. Can I just call you when I get on it next time and have you sort of walk me through that? Sure. Okay.
Okay.
This afternoon,
What did you say, Larry?
I'm just saying I finished it this afternoon.
Okay. Has anybody else finished it besides Larry and Terry?
No, I
Okay.
need to do it.
Okay. So let's all try. Let's all try to get that done and taken care of by the end of June. Is that right, Terry? Okay. All right. Anything else we need to discuss? Well, once again, thank you, board members. I appreciate so much all that you do to try and help the district and to help us fulfill the things, the responsibilities that we have. You're doing a great job. It's a pleasure working with you. I consider each one of you one of my really good friends. And if you ever have any ideas or suggestions of things that you want me to put on the agenda, please let me know. I want you to feel like you're involved and have input in the things that we do. Thanks to our district people. You're doing awesome. Oh my gosh, I can't believe all you've had to put up with this last year, and you've done such a fantastic job. If anybody wants to send an email to Tim and wish him well, feel free to do that because we can't get together and trying to get well card. So if you would like to give him your best, then do so. If there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Good idea.